to the Michael Zehr Show. Today's date is Friday, July 28th, 2023. Uh, Hopefully, we get some people joining us today live because we're going to do something a little different today. We're not going to be talking about a veteran story. We're going to be talking about you. That's right, we're talking about you at home, you veterans that are out there that are in maybe rural areas, maybe can't get access to some of the veteran benefits and veteran jobs and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know whose idea it was. This is Jerry Courier from Arizona at work. Jerry, thank you so much for sitting down.
Thank you, Michael.
I don't know whose idea it was to come up with this fair, the not fair, what is it, like a veteran
Resource
outreach?
fair. Yeah, veteran resource
outreach?
fair. Yeah.
Veteran Resource Fair is what you're calling it? Okay.
Yes,
Veteran
sir.
Resource Fair. And they're doing this in Douglas is what the plan is. And as the date becomes cemented, we'll make sure to get that word out so that everybody can get attended. But we have a population of veterans that are in Douglas that are pretty much forgotten about, wouldn't you say?
Within reason, yeah. They don't have access to say some of the resources say we would here.
Right.
You know, and if they, even though it may not seem like it's a huge distance, but for some people that could probably be problematic to.
Yeah, especially if you have transportation. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're doing something also a little different today. I was reading on my streaming stuff that I get because I've taken this class. And we've been having some people talking about the audio issues on the live stream. So I've corrected the mic. I've moved a little bit closer to us today. And hopefully, if there are still any audio issues, I would appreciate some feedback so I can continue to work on it. But hopefully, this will be a big fix. And I moved the microphone in a little bit more towards us so you can hear us better as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, getting back to our veterans at home, I, for one, pre-pandemic, 100% disabled. I was sitting at home, not really doing anything, not really motivated. And I think that some of our veterans fall into this, I don't know what the right word is, but they fall
They get too comfortable.
a funk or whatever. And and so the hardest thing is trying to get people up and out and get them re-engaging again. And I think that trying to reach out to these veterans that are in these rural areas is a big step in the right direction. Don't you think so?
No, I do. And you bring up an interesting point because I think in a lot of this, a lot of stuff that I do, I base off of my experiences as a veteran, coming home from deployment, stuff like that. But I think, again, this is just my opinion when it comes to COVID-19.
Right.
I think it changed a lot of ways we look at things, especially employment-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I do find it interesting because from my experience, my wife Linda, who's the most amazing lady on the planet, she's just amazing. Doesn't have an issue with calling me out, if you will.
Right.
But
and we need that.
Yeah, we do. Thank God. But she brought up a saying. She was giving me a hard time one time, and I think it's true. I was taught. It was during the middle of COVID because I worked in the office. I stayed in the office. So I went home one day complaining, long day at work, blah blah blah. And so I go in our room and we have this chair. And so, after work, sit down, relax, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you're getting too comfortable. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She's like, you're just getting too comfortable. And so I thought that was kind of interesting because I do think it's very easy to distance yourself from the world, I guess.
Yes.
And so I feel from my experience, maybe we do get too comfortable. And then it gets to the point where for me, I think it's very challenging. How do you get yourself out of that? How do you get yourself active? getting out there,
How do you, Jerry? Tell us some of your.
So my wife and I, I love YouTube. I really do. I think it's the coolest thing out there. And so, by sheer accident one day, we were, we got this old school camper, RV trailer. So we're gonna start refitting it, remodeling it, and I was watching this YouTube video about overlanding. And I thought that would be the coolest thing in the world. Just getting out there, exploring, blah, blah, blah. And so my wife and Linda and I, once a month, we try to get out, just drive out to these really obscure areas and just go explore. And so I think it's kind of interesting doing that. I really do. It's fun. It really is. I'm not going to go out there and climb rocks. I'm kind of, kind of a big guy here, So, but getting out there exploring, to me, it's fun. Linda likes it, so that's our escape. That's how we get out there, and it's nice. It's just fun, just exploring. And in Cochise County, there's just so much to go see. It's insane.
Yep.
If you like history or if you just like walking or whatever it is you want to do, there's just so many places to explore here. So our goal, honestly, is just to kind of pick a spot, drive out there, explore, and just kind of get away from civilization, if you will. And I think it's kind of a neat topic, like you're saying, live in rural.
Right.
So that's kind of what we do. What do you do?
Well, my biggest thing was, I needed to step out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to challenge myself because I was getting bored, and it was playing a mental. It was messing with my head too,
mm-hmm.
and I would get depressed, and I'd be moody, and I was like, man, I got to make a change. So right about the time COVID had hit, right before COVID had hit, I had started this group in the Cochise County. Arizona Veterans Facebook group.
Yeah.
And we're up to 300 members so far.
Awesome.
Yay, thank you to those that have joined. And I started putting out into that group, hey, let's go to the Warrior Healing Center, and meet for coffee when they do their bagel and brew, because they used to do it every Thursday back then. And a few of us went and we met, and that's kind of how it started. And then I really got interested in volunteering and helping out here at the Warrior Healing Center. And by stepping out of my comfort zone and putting others first and wanting to help other people here at the Warrior Healing Center. Also, I'm a service officer at the Disabled American Veterans. I've been doing that now for 3 years. So by getting off the couch, quit playing my video games all day at home and just zoning out and letting the world pass me by, I decided to get involved again. And it's the best thing that I ever did, because I love it. And I hope that if there's any veterans out there that are having these issues where they're struggling with, boredom or mental health, or maybe they're just disabled and they just don't know what to do, well, there are things for them to do. They just have to take the time to find it.
And I think you're right. It's an interesting, like I say, it's an interesting discussion, because I know from my experience, from my family, 2 of my sons are still active duty. One's a veteran.
Isn't your son an officer too?
No.
I thought you said he was. I'm sorry.
No, he thinks he is. He's a chief petty officer. So
okay,
all you
that's
sailors,
what it is.
Yes,
okay.
yes, a chief petty officer.
All right.
Oh, he's an awesome chief. So anyway, sailors, they're cute and adorable.
I have to salute him then.
Yeah,
That's good.
He's soon to retire in a couple years, which is awesome. But I think it's interesting because, with our family dynamic, I was talking to my son about this last weekend, is that I think what's appealing, you look back at your service, for me, I was a truck driver, I ran convoys, that sort of stuff. And I think what's interesting about the whole exploring thing, it's going to sound really corny, but it brings back, to me, it's very challenging because you're mission planning, mission prep.
Right.
You're prepping for your convoy, if you will, and so it's kind of exciting in my standpoint. And I think when it comes to veterans, like you were saying, you self-isolation, for whatever reason, and probably had every right to, because during COVID, it was kind of a little apprehensive times.
Yeah, but see, I was doing it before COVID. That's the problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when COVID hit, I was pissed off because that's when I was stepping up to do all of this stuff.
And then it just
hits
you.
And I'm
really?
like, well, daggone it.
It kind of had to start all over again.
So yeah, it's.
So I think with veterans, I understand it, I get it, because like I said, I base with like what I do at work. A lot of this is based off my experiences, and
Right.
so for me, looking at this, it's something Linda and I enjoy doing, just getting out, taking drives, and so it's a good excuse to get out of the house, to get active, maybe lose a few pounds here or there. So,
Right. So, and see, that's the struggle. And then it can also affect your mental health, right? Because when you're not active, and not only that, inactivity is one thing, but then when you're not interacting with other people,
exactly,
that's a whole nother issue. And I can't stress enough to the viewers that are watching this that, number one, if you're a 100% disabled veteran and you're sitting at home and you just don't know what to do and you don't think there's anything, you could still work at 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I'm not an expert on this, but because originally, after right before I retired out of the reserves, I applied for my disability rating, and I was under the impression that disability rating, you can never work. So I talked to a service officer through the DAV years ago, and he was like, that's a misconception.
Right.
You have your workable, non-workable, and I think if you are still employed and you have your disability rating, there's a lot of advantages to this, I feel. Is that, so say you get 100% or 90 or whatever it is, and that brings more money into your household.
It does.
It raises your quality of life. So say, you don't really want that career. Say you just want to work, I don't know, maybe stocking groceries. From a financial standpoint, you're fine, and so, or maybe you decide to go to college for a while, get that degree, you have money coming in the house, you have your disability pension or whatever, that gives you opportunities to reinvent yourself, or, you don't want that, or maybe you just want to go volunteer, now you still have a paycheck coming in, if you will.
Right.
So it gives you a lot of opportunities, I feel. Now, now if that's at non-workable rating, it's a tough situation at that point. But there's resources out there to assist you, and I encourage all my clients to say, take advantage of the resources that are out there for you.
Could you give us an idea of some of those, what they might be?
So say you want to go to school, and you just want a degree field. There's Chapter 31 through the VA, VRNE, Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment. Yeah, Voc Rehab, better known. So you're able to go to school, but you still have money coming in. The VA will send you to school. You'll get a stipend, blah blah blah, and get into that degree, that career field that you want to do. And I'll use my oldest son as an example. He's not going to Voc Rehab. However, what he's doing, because of the job he does in the Navy, he does want to do that when he retires. So he's been going to school into sustainability.
Okay.
He's reinventing himself. and because he just doesn't want to do what he did in the Navy.
Right.
So I feel, and what I see, veterans have the ability to reinvent themselves because we have those resources. So say you're sitting here and you're going to school, you're 100%, and we'll say your spouse underemployed, and they've been working, I don't know, some little job is not really a career, but they want to go to school. Now you have chapter 35 for your spouse. So she or he could go to school on the VA dime, if you will.
And if you're 100%, your children can go.
Exactly. So there's a lot of opportunities to take advantage of.
Right.
And I encourage veterans to do that because that's a life-changing event for them.
Scoot on over this way a
Okay.
little bit. I don't want
All
you
right.
to fall off the screen there.
All right.
So, yeah, it's another thing too is going back to the veterans like in Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think we can do to get them more engaged in the veteran community? What are some of the steps we could take for that?
One of the things I've seen down there is the lack of having access to resources. So say as an example, a veteran service officer. They just don't have the accessibility to that. So we're working with the American Legion in Douglas to put together the first ever resource fair. And I know we're in the process of getting their leadership onto your podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
So they could go more into detail in that. But we've identified, when we first started going down there, oh my God, we were told there's no veterans. So we're like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, so you got to be kidding me. You got an American Legion there. You used to have a Army National Guard transportation unit down there, which I used to be part of back in the day. But so recently, in the last 6 months to 10 months ish, we've re-engaged down there. And so recently, we're actively working with the American Legion down there. We're trying. We're putting this together and to bring in resources for the veteran community there and getting them access to, say, Sierra Vista, if you will, resources up here. So far, everything is going very well, I feel. And that's, and so the resource fair, we're looking at the 10th of October.
Oh, okay.
Down in Douglas at the American Legion Post 11.
How exciting.
Yeah, and we're finalizing everything here shortly, but I don't want to say too much. Let the leadership kind of talk about.
Yeah. I
don't want to steal their thunder.
I'm looking forward to it too because then by being able to go down there and do a live stream interview with somebody down in Douglas, that's something I'm not opposed to doing. Like once a month, taking a drive down there because again, they're part of Cochise County.
Yeah.
Okay, and Warrior Healing Center here, we support veterans in Cochise County. We don't support veterans in just Sierra Vista or just Hereford. I mean, Douglas, Benson, Bisbee, Wilcox. I mean, you name it. Tombstone. There's just.
And I think what's interesting, because I've deployed as a reservist twice, and you go down into the communities like Douglas, if you will, the rural communities that still have, say, a national an armory or whatever down in their communities, and so these soldiers mobilize, they deploy, they demobilize, they come home, and in some cases they may live very remote from a VA facility or whatever, and I think that's kind of sad. Because you have entire communities that might be connected or in that National Guard unit or Army Reserve unit. And, I know we've came a long way working with our Guard and Reserve. And, kind of biased opinion, without the Guard and Reserve, the active component can't do their job effectively. We learned that in the War on Terror.
We had quite a few reservists that were over in Iraq and Afghanistan fighting the fight.
Yeah, and from my experience, I did 2 back-to-back mobilizations. And it's kind of a weird transition. I used to joke about it. I demobilized 2 weeks later, I'm back at work. And to me, that's like, ooh, this is kind of weird, kind of odd. But, and at the time, you don't really know what direction to go, because say you have, you just, long story short, say you come home and you're just not the same person because of your experiences downrange or whatever. So what resources are out there for that reservist or guardsman? And so, and that's kind of my approach with Douglas, is trying to get them those resources, because there's this decent sized veteran community down there. And that's one of some of the questions I've gotten is, how do I apply for disability rating? Or I did apply for disability rating, but I got rejected, denied. So getting them to the right people to answer these questions, I think, is very important.
And then if you can get other organizations on board, like the DAV, or people that are service officers that could go down and help with claims too.
Exactly.
Because I know that the DAV here in Phoenix has a van with 2 mobile desks in it, so that when they drive around, they can do claims from the van remotely. So that's an option down the road, to look at. Because my personal opinion, okay, this is just my opinion, you put the veteran first. You don't play semantics or politics. If a veteran needs help,
help them.
You help the veteran, regardless of the cost. Because I've said this over and over again, I'm a big supporter and proponent of ending the veteran suicide, and we need to end veteran suicide, and the best way to do that is to get our veterans engaged and keep them engaged.
Well, like you just said, this is Jerry's opinion. This is how I feel. But I think it's very challenging, because I think there's a lot of, what I see sometimes in the veteran community, there's a lot of complexities, I feel. And I wish that veterans would stop kind of like being critical of each other, I guess.
Yes.
And coming together to say, we have a problem.
Yes.
We have a suicide problem.
Let's solve it together.
Let's solve it together.
Yeah.
Not every veteran probably, let me back up. So we have issues in the veteran community. Why can't we come to the table to say, we have a situation, let's work together to solve the problem? And I don't see the harm in that, but unfortunately, I've seen it can be very challenging to breach that gap. And I just kind of wish veterans would just kind of take a breather. Let's re-engage and fix it. We know what the issue is, so let's try and fix the problem.
I mean, we're all in this fight together, right?
Exactly.
Aren't we? I mean, we all wore the uniform at one time or another, right?
Yeah, I would think, yes.
I mean,
it's kind of no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe you didn't wear a uniform, Michael. Maybe you went to work in civilian clothes. I don't know.
No, I was in Medac, so.
You weren't a soldier.
Yeah, I wasn't a soldier.
But, and this is some of the things I've heard. And, I never deployed, so I'm not a veteran. What does that mean?
Baloney.
Yeah, baloney, exactly.
You wear the uniform, you serve.
Yeah, I never.
You don't know if you're going to be tasked or get called out. No one knows.
My favorite is, because I wasn't an infantryman. Doesn't mean anything. And it's like, ooh, did you get shot at? IEDs or whatever. So IEDs don't discriminate against your MOS.
Well, to my recollection, every single person that I've ever known that served in any branch of the military has had to learn how to fire a weapon.
You sure?
I'm 99.9% sure.
All right.
Because I'm telling you, what good would it do? What are you going to do? Put somebody who doesn't know how to fire? Well, chaplains maybe, right?
That's a tough one,
So, but they're not going to just put you out there in the line of fire unless you want to be cannon fodder or something, maybe.
And I think it's interesting because in the military we're always taught one team, one fight.
Yes.
And I think, why not, as veterans, can we not apply the same logic? One team, one fight. Our mission is to break down barriers. Our mission is to assist that veteran in any way we can to improve their health or improve their quality of life, or and improving their quality of life could be maybe sending them to school on their GI Bill, or evoke rehab benefits, or refer them to organizations that can assist them to better their situation. Because I know, when you join the military, you are taught a skill, which is awesome. But I know this may sound weird, but not every skill is transferable to the civilian market. Unless you're going to be maybe a mercenary. You can't drive tanks down the street to work, but maybe go to school to be a heavy equipment operator. Or, for me, I was a 88 Mike. I thought it'd be kind of cool to drive civilian trucks, and I was like, no, that job sucked. I hated it. So kind of went back to the drawing board, reinvented myself, and now, I work with veterans.
Well, what about somebody that's like a minesweeper, right?
No.
In the military, they're out there disarming mines and stuff like that. It's not like you can come back to the civilian population and, we have a bunch of mines in Phoenix, or no, those are different types of mines.
Yeah, no, but you bring up an interesting point. So I look at the overall picture. I try to, and we'll say, and I'm gonna just use my son as an example. He was a human, and
what is that?
Human intelligence, the secret squirrel guys, I guess.
Okay.
So anyway, so he didn't like doing that. He hated the job. So when he got out of the military, he thought, this isn't for me. I don't want to do contracting, even though the money is good. So he wound up getting into the mining industry, and he loves it. He loves what he does. So he was able to reinvent himself. And I think with...
What industry?
The mining industry.
Really? Okay.
He does conveyor belt repair.
Okay.
And so, which I think is kind of cool. And in some ways, I look at it that... So you do a career field, like you said, his minesweeper as an example. So you're sitting there one day and you're like, I'm only going to do my time. I'm getting out of the military. I'm not really sure what I want to do. So you go see a employment specialist, and you're sitting there and you're like, you're talking, well, I know I want to go to school, but I don't want nothing to do with anything similar to what I did in, say, in the Army. So what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? Well, you know what? I like to, this is going to sound stupid, but I enjoy gardening, or I enjoy nature. Well, have you ever thought about maybe conservation? Maybe getting into a career field. You're an outdoors person. Because I think in the Army, whether we liked it or not, or I think the military in general, we're taught conservation. Leave the area better than when you got there. So I use that as an example. So I feel with veterans, we have, you're seeing, there's a shift, I feel. And you're seeing veterans use something similar to their skill set in the military to make a living on the outside. If you ran convoys for a living, I've seen on YouTube, there's organizations out there, even, they go out and they contract through various organizations, conservation stuff. There's a wide variety of things that veterans are doing to give back.
Right.
But they're also, it's similar to what they did in the military. It's that familiarity in a way, I guess. I hope that makes sense.
Well, and then you also have quite a few of our veteran population become law enforcement in one.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because sometimes I think it's safe to stick with what you know, which is fine.
Right.
But what if that's not what you want to do, but you want to do something where you don't have to work with a lot of people?
Right.
Or if you do, you're working with like-minded individuals. You're in a career field, maybe that this company is not veterans, but you have something in common with them.
Right.
And you could move in and do whatever it is you're going to do, say working with animals. Or my oldest son just came back from a trip in Botswana working with elephants, and he loved it. He thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So
wow.
Yeah, and he has like 4 deployments, and and he was just like, wow, this is kind of cool. and I love my son. I'm going to pick on him, but
Yeah.
it's the most he's ever talked, I think, is about these elephants. But but I think that's kind of cool. And
Right.
with my oldest, get a little bit of inspiration with my job, because it's like, well, hold on here. If my son can do this, reinventing themselves, why can't other people do it? Go to school, take
Yep.
advantage of your benefits. Yep. They're there for a reason. By law, you have access to them. Use them. And if you're like, well, Jerry, well, you know what? You get a stipend, and you're also eligible, if you're 3/4 time or more, VA work study, to make a little bit extra money. So if you're getting a stipend, work study, and you say have a disability rating, from a financial aspect, you're doing okay.
Right. When you're talking about the money aspect of reinventing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
some people, and I consider myself as one of these type, it's not always about the money.
Nope.
You got to enjoy what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing, right?
Exactly.
Because if you don't love what you're doing and you're miserable, yeah, you're getting good pay, but you're miserable. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to take that miserable, oh, I hate my job feeling home, and then it can affect your family life and stuff like that. So it's a big thing. It's a big decision to make when you're looking at a career change.
No, it is. It's very scary. And
Yeah.
it could be I know for me it was very challenging, because for me, I think, well, my situation was I worked nonprofit for a few years, quite a while. And then I applied for the state, wound up getting hired as what we call a DVOP.
Which is what you are now.
A veteran workforce specialist. So what's kind of interesting, my first year was very, it was rough, because I'm like, man, I bit off more than I could chew here. But
Yeah.
for me, COVID was a good thing,
Yeah.
because it's like, hold on, I'm back on deployment. I'm back. I'm tracking. I got this. And so you get your footing, and it can be very scary. But the one thing, the military, I feel, I always remember, one worst day you had was yesterday. Suck it up. It's going to be okay. And you go home, and you can, I would tell Linda, man, it was a rough day. But during COVID, working with my manager, who's amazing, Teresa's awesome. But
Yay, Teresa.
Yeah, yay. 2 thumbs up, Teresa. But it was being back on mission, and that's what I got out of it, and
Right.
it made me
Excited to do your job
yes,
too, and
because I was on mission.
yeah,
That's how I felt. I was
you
back
actually
on
look
deployment.
forward to going to work.
Oh,
and-
every day. I
yeah,
loved it.
yeah.
I loved working in the office during COVID.
Yeah.
Because it was boom, 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 boom all day long, and so.
Did you interact with a lot of your patients? Geez Louise. Dr. Jerry,
I know. Sometimes being
your
a
customer, your clients.
Well, I worked with
in the office, or was it more on? Did you guys go to online at that time, and you were doing that from the office? How did that work?
So the challenging part of it was I had to do DVOP work, non-DVOP work. So we assisted with applying for pandemic unemployment, and I would do my outreach at the same time, going to Safford, stuff like that, which was long days. But it was fun and challenging at the same time, because you're assisting these people that need that help.
Right.
And at that point, the mission came first. So, and that's what I loved about COVID, from that aspect, working in the office, was the mission first.
I'm sorry, I don't love anything about COVID.
Well, no. Yeah, I
I
get
what
it.
you're
But
saying, though.
yeah, but from my
Yeah.
standpoint, being in
I
the
gotcha.
office, helping people was awesome.
My biggest thing was we knew it was coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started reading or hearing about it in like November or December. So in February, Dr. Susini did my left hip here at the Canyon Vista, and he did a great job. Thank you, Dr. Susini, if you ever see this. Anyhow, so then the pandemic, everything just kind of shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, shut down in like where Las Vegas was a ghost town. People were staying.
It's kind of scary in a way.
Yes, it's like the apocalypse has come. This is it.
Wait for the zombies.
Yes, The Walking Dead. Here we
I
go.
know. Oh man, I read about this. I watched the show.
Right. I'm not trying to make fun of
No, I'm not.
COVID, but it was just that the time and how that.
It was very apprehensive
Yeah.
because I thought what was interesting, food lines outside Walmart.
Yes.
I was like, oh my goodness, you know,
Toilet paper. What in the heck is the word, dude? Toilet paper. Seriously? Come on.
come on, man.
If toilet paper is gold, then man, I should have. If I'd have been thinking, man, I'd have bought like 2,500 cases of
invested
it or
in the
something.
Charmin
Yeah.
stock or something. That'd have been awesome.
Oh my gosh, toilet paper.
But what I thought was interesting, like there was a lot of DevOps that worked in the office,
Right.
And so for me, that's where I kind of got my footing, if you will. And so moving forward, it's you know, I love what I do. I love working for the state. I love helping my brothers and sisters. Some days are very challenging, but that's okay. That comes with the territory. But yeah, but when you look at the rural aspect of it, it is very. It is, to me, it's different. And veterans, I feel, move rural for a reason.
Right.
And I would assume various aspects of that. So I know from my standpoint, I'm from here. So is Linda. So we moved back here. And there's just no way I could live in a city. Just not going to happen. Not at all.
Although I have to say, my wife and I and our daughter and her husband and our 3 grandkids, we took 2 vehicles and we did a road trip in June for 3 weeks. And oh my gosh, it was like the best vacation. We went to Sandusky, Ohio.
Nice.
So we went to Cedar Point so that the grandkids could do, you know, their roller coaster stuff. So then we drove to Cleveland. I had never been to Cleveland, right? And we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We went to a baseball game, the Cleveland Guardians, I know, and the Astros. And I got to see the stadium where the Chicago Cubs beat the Cleveland Indians in
Nice.
2016.
That is cool.
So that was exciting for me. And then after Cleveland, we went to Chicago, and we went to 2 games at Wrigley Field, and we hit all the museums. And I went up, dude, I conquered my fear. Again, this is something I'm talking about. Preaching outside or getting outside your comfort zone, because I have had nightmares, traumatic nightmares about Sears Tower falling and collapsing on you. And so everybody wanted to go up, but here, chicken me. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to go. So I conquered my fear and I went up. And everything was fine, but I just, it's that mental mindset that I'm talking about.
No,
but I'm just glad that we went, what I'm saying,
Yeah.
because it was a great time. We got to see some area, and then again, you're getting out and you're doing stuff amongst, you're not sitting home.
No, and you're right. Now I was talking to my son about this, that once he retires, maybe plan a little trip, convoy, wherever. And I said, yeah, I've always wanted, I like the military history, stuff like that. And he was like, Dad, I'd like to do the weird stuff. I was like, what do you mean weird
What's
stuff?
weird? Which stuff? Yeah, fill us in.
Roswell, Area 51.
Okay,
you know?
yeah.
I was like, that would be kind of cool. Maybe to see a UFO. I don't know. Have lunch with
maybe
little
you'll get
aliens.
abducted.
Yeah, maybe for an hour or so. That'd be cool. That'd be a hoot. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's just so much to see out there. And I think, and that's what I think is interesting when you look at the veteran. There's a lot of jobs maybe seasonal. Mm-hmm. Maybe you work during the season, go play the off season. Maybe, you know, looking into remote work. You have the ability to travel and work at the same time, you know? So there's a lot has changed because of COVID on the way we look at things. And I think that's kind of fascinating. Whether you agree or disagree, I think people have realized, well, you know, I don't have to do that like I used to. Maybe I can do this, you know? So I think there's a lot of interesting aspects, pro, cons, I guess. But why not take advantage of those cons? Because, you know, working 40 hours a week in an office may not be for everybody. but
Right.
maybe working 40 hours a week out of your vehicle. Well, as soon as I get off work, I'm going to go fishing.
Fishing.
I know, right? So there's a lot of neat things that you could do to reinvent yourself, is all I'm saying. And we have the resources to do it.
One thing I love about, there's many things I love about the Warrior Healing Center, but one thing in particular is a couple weeks ago I interviewed Healing Heroes Outdoors, and it was Gary and Wayne. And the idea is to get disabled veterans, veterans, but it can also be disabled veterans, and they get them out into the outdoors, fishing and hunting, and it's such a great program. So I'm hoping that our viewers that are watching this, that if they know of somebody that wants to do that, take advantage of these programs. There's so many different things that they can do. So this is what it's leading up to. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So don't hit me off camera
right.
later for this. But I want you to look into the camera, and I want you to inspire our viewers.
Oh man.
To get engaged.
So
if you can do that.
Ooh, that's a tough one. So anyway, I would say get off your 3-point of contact. If you're not sure what you want to do, go talk to your local American. Go to your local American Job Center. We have one. They're all over the country.
Okay.
And here in the state of Arizona at work.
And that's located down on Wilcox.
2600 East Wilcox Drive.
Right. In the Nurses College.
Yeah,
right?
the old hospital.
Yep.
If you have no idea what you want to do, just go in there. There's no stupid question we used to be told in training. Ask the question. Well, no, some questions might be a little weird, but that's okay.
Weird is okay.
That's fine. So, go down to your local American Job Center. Talk to a veteran employment specialist, DVOP. Say, hey, look, I want to go to school. How do I access my benefits? How do I find out if what benefits are left or whatever? Talk to a vet rep on how to reinvent yourself. How do you do this? There's various aspects. Even if you're not say you exhausted GI Bill, you're not eligible for VOC rehab. You have WIOA funds if you're a dislocated worker or whatever. There's funding out there to make these possible.
Don't let the brick walls stop you.
Exactly. There's just a lot of resources out there to assist you. So don't hesitate. Engage. Because one of the things, there's some attributes that we're taught in the Army that some people, in the military, that some people may find negative, but we're taught aggression. We're taught how to be aggressive, how to make the mission happen. And, and what I mean by that is, don't be afraid to go in and say, hey, look, I got a dumb question. How do I activate my GI Bill? Well, I'm 50% disabled. How do I get VR&E benefits? How do I apply for that? Or, hey, I need a certification. I want to be a truck driver. How do I get the funds to pay for that? Get in there and ask those individuals, how do I make this happen? How do I reinvent myself? I was an infantryman in the Army. I want nothing to do with law enforcement, but I love working outdoors because that's what I did my whole time in the military, or a tanker, whatever. Make it happen today because, don't put it off. There's no excuse to wait. I get it a lot. I totally understand. I get it all the time where they're saying, well, Jerry, how do you do this? Well, it was a pain in the ass to do it, really, from my standpoint. I was not academically disciplined. I hate school, hate it. But it was a process that I made happen. Yeah, I hated school.
I quit high school 1 month before graduation.
Yeah,
That's how stupid I was.
Yeah. I have GED behind my name. I'm all right with that. That's fine. But But make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. If you don't know where we're at, come to the center. They'll direct you to us. We have an office down here. We're here Thursdays and Fridays.
I was going to say, if they wanted to come here to the Warrior Healing Center, when they walk in the door and fill out an intake, and they could put down in there Arizona at work, and then they'll direct you right, and then they'll make an appointment for them.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. They'll refer them to us. You guys refer them to us, and we go from there.
So there's resources out there. You just got to get up and take advantage of them.
Do it today.
Yeah.
Why wait? The longer you wait, the harder it's going to get.
And in closing here, I wanted to go back to the event that we're going to be having in Douglas. When you mentioned the armory, I had a flashback of when I used to be a mobile DJ.
Yeah.
And I used to go down and the county fair, they used to have the kids dance at the Armory building.
Yeah.
And I used to go in there and set up my DJ equipment. And man, that's a historic building down there.
It is. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The old Armory.
Yeah.
They're neat. I mean, they really are. You have the drill hall, the drill floor, the offices around. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's old school. It's how in a lot of communities too. You had the old guard armory or reserve armory or whatever. I think it's kind of neat.
So we have a lot of things to look forward to here coming up in the near future with the Veteran Resource Fair that you're scheduling, tentative for October 10th, you said?
Yep, 10 to 2.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be exciting.
I do, because it's something that hasn't been done.
Yes.
It's we're providing resources to veterans that need the assistance, and I think it's kind of a neat thing. So take advantage of those. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Take advantage of them. If that might be the ideal time to say, hey, I don't have GI Bill benefits, but how do I go to school? How do I do this? Okay, we have people that can assist to get that done.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Nope. Engage.
Yeah. Jerry, thank you, man, for coming in this
Michael.
morning and sitting down and
it's always
sharing
a pleasure.
that with us. A few events that we have coming up here real quick. I wanted to let you know that today, it's not on my sheet here. I'm doing this from memory, so hopefully I don't screw it up. Today, starting at 1500 hours at the Mustang Cowboy. See, I already messed it up.
No, you said cowboy stuff.
The Mustang Cowboy Church out in Whetstone. But I think, Mustang Cowboy Church.
I know it's the Cowboy Church.
Yeah.
That's what in
Whetstone.
Not far from my
They're
house.
having a resource fair there today for the people in that area. They don't have to be veterans. This is for anybody to come in. The Warrior Healing Center will be there with a table, as well as a lot of health organizations and other organizations. So that starts at 1500 today. So hopefully, if you would like to come out and check us out, Mustang. Oh man, I know it's
just
Mustang
call it the
Cowboy Church, but
just call it the
Cowboy Church. Anyhow, 1500 hours today.
Spit
and
it out.
hopefully people will show up and we'll get it. This is the third year that they've been doing this. Yeah, and it's the third year that I've had the honor and privilege of participating in it.
It's resources?
Yeah, it's just to let the people in Whetstone and Huachuca City and that part of Cochise County, just to let them know of some of the services that are available to them.
Awesome.
So
That's so cool.
Yeah, very good. Today we have at 1900 live band Patrick Rail and the 357 band. They're going to be playing at the American Legion Post 52. And that starts at 1900 hours today, so please go check them out. On Saturday, starting at 7:30, we have the Velovets group ride that they meet at the Pueblo del Sol Country Club parking lot. And Saturday, 9:30 to 11:30 is the weekly PMCS. It's a support group that meets here at the Warrior Healing Center main conference room. On Sunday, July 30th, starting at 1500 and going to 1630, it's the Sunday with Team RWB taking place at the Dairy Queen on Arizona Highway 92. And on Monday, starting at 17:30, going to 18:30, is the 5 treasures of Qigong. So those are some of the events that are coming up. Also next Friday is the Fun Food Friday, and it starts at 11 o'clock and goes to 1500. So hopefully everybody will be in next Friday for that as well. So once again, Jerry, thank you so much for
thank
coming
you,
in.
Mike. It was a pleasure as always.
I really, as we get closer to the date in October, maybe a week or so ahead, maybe we could come in here and just let our viewers give them a real quick update of some of the things that are going to be happening and maybe some of the resources available.
Too easy. And, I'm excited too because I know the leadership would like to sit down, kind of do a podcast with you as well. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. Next Friday, my special guest interview is not going to be a veteran, but it's going to be our very own Donna Grable. She's the new CEO here at the Warrior Healing Center, and she wanted to sit down and introduce herself. So her and I are going to be sitting down and having a nice chat. So I'll see you again next Friday. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great day, a great weekend.